Hello, my name is Xonevant. Today is Wednesday, January the 15th, and this is your Daily Dose. Alright, so I've been wanting to talk about this topic for quite some time on the channel, but just haven't really gotten around to it. But this seems to be the best opportunity because it combines, you know, like I said, the topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time with a franchise that I'm very fond of. Alright, so there is a Kickstarter campaign right now for a game called Unsung Story, which if you've read the articles or if you've seen the actual page, it is actually from the creators of Final Fantasy Tactics, which is a phenomenal game if you've never played it. Very good game. I actually have it in my collection. And that's really not the issue that I'm having, right? It's the Kickstarter side of things. Now, traditionally, when a studio wants to create a game, they seek out funding, right? Whether it be through Sony or Microsoft or through the stock market, you know, they have to seek out funding. They basically have to get paid in advance for all of their work, right? For all their operating costs, you know, their budgets, all that kind of stuff, right? They have to pay people to make the game, and then they sell the game hoping to make that money back. Then investor gets, you know, the investors get their share, or Sony gets their share, or Microsoft gets their share, or whatever, and then it just repeats itself over and over and over again until the studio can't find funding or they run out of money. And then, which in that case, you know, they have to, you know, go bankrupt or be bought out. You know, that's typically how how this thing works. You have to have money, you have to get it from someplace else because you don't have it, right? And then obviously the people who give you the money should get some of their money back, right? It's a gamble, but they should at least, you know, be in the hunt to get their money back, or at least turn a profit, or else it's not a wise investment to begin with. That's typically how this thing works. But now this is where my issue is with Kickstarter. Now, I am open to dialogue on this particular topic because this whole Kickstarter thing is kind of new to the gaming industry. So I'm open for you guys' opinion on it, but this is my opinion, right? So we get this project that's unveiled to us as gamers, right? And as far as I know, and I've looked online and maybe I'm just missing it, but I've only seen like maybe some screenshots. There's a small little trailer on their Kickstarter page, but you know, nothing that would show me like in depth about the game. It's not even an official trailer. You see what I mean? Now we get trailers for games that we're gonna buy for $60, right? We get trailers, we get multiple trailers, we get multiple screenshots, and we get all that before we're ready to pay our $60. You see what I mean? But it seems like with the Kickstarter campaign, you're paying, in this case, $30, in other cases, $10, and, you know, some cases, $60, whatever, right? You're paying for the price of the game before you actually get the game, or before you've even seen much about the game. Like, you haven't even seen it officially released. A lot of times this stuff is just in, like, you know, in the early storyboard phases where they're still just sketching out, you know, what the game is going to be about. Like, they don't even have much to show. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But you get my point. I am confused because if I, quote unquote, give my money to Kickstarter for this Unsung Story game, at that point, I'm an investor because I'm covering all the stuff that would normally be covered if they were seeking out funding, right? Now, in this case, we're giving money, but we're not really getting treated as if we are funding the project. We're just prepaying for something. We're just prepaying for what we were going to buy anyway if the game came out. But without our money, the game wouldn't even come out. So you would think they would owe us more than just a copy of the game or an art book or something like that. And that's kind of where I'm torn on this issue, because it almost seems like they want us to feel like investors into their project, and they call them backers, right? Which is basically being an investor. But at the end of the day, we don't get the same rewards that an investor would get. We get a copy of the game, but we were going to buy that anyway if the game ever came out. But the game doesn't come out because we didn't fund it first. You see what I mean? So it seems like we should get more than just a copy of the game. Why aren't we getting a percentage of the profits of the game, since we, in fact, made the game possible? Think about it like this. Even if the project is not successful, even if it flops, let's say it took them 2 years to make it, right? 2 years to make the game. We paid for that. So we basically paid for them to make a game that was going to flop, or we paid for them to make a game that was going to suck. You know what I mean? And what do we get in return for that? We get the game that sucks. That's what we get in return. You see what I'm getting at? Something just doesn't seem right to me, and maybe I'm missing something, and that's why I wanted to bring it to you guys' attention. Do I want this game to come out? Yes. You know what I mean? But if I invest my money, I want to be treated like an investor and not. I don't want to prepay for a copy of the game that I don't know how it's actually going to be. Now, granted, this particular franchise has a long history. You know, so did the new Mega Man that's coming out, right? The new Mega Man that got funded this way as well. So they have a history, so you kind of know what you're going to get. But still, we're really buying the dream at that point. You know what I mean? And personally, I think that if I'm going to back your project, I should get a percentage of what your project actually makes. Otherwise, you know, it's a win-win for you, and it's a potential lose-lose for me, because I'm investing my money into a project that may actually end up flopping, and then in return for me losing my money on the flop, I'm going to get the game that flopped. I lose twice. You see what I mean? And so something just seems a little bit weird about this to me, but I know going into this generation, we're going to see a lot more of this, and I'd like to get you guys' opinion on it. So hit me up in the comments below, and we'll just take it from there. Alright, so make sure you check out yesterday's show if you missed it. We talked a little bit about digital distribution, and the YouTube Spotlight today shines on the actual trailer, quote-unquote, for Unsung Story. If you haven't seen it, make sure to check it out. It'll give you as much insight on that particular project, you know, as you can get. Sub of the day is on the screen, as well as the links, and they're also in the description below, and I will see you guys tomorrow. And remember, if you even miss one dose. So one of my favorite movies of all time is Casino. And it's about these thugs, right? These gangsters who end up, you know, running the casinos in Las Vegas, you know, here in the States, right? It's kind of how Las Vegas got started, right? Really good movie. And, you know, they would do some stuff now. You know, they would do some pretty graphic stuff to people who they caught cheating inside of their casinos and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Trying to rip off the casinos, so to speak. You know, they would take them in the back room and bang their fingers in with ball-peen hammers, and they would threaten to saw their fingers off with chainsaws and all kind of crazy stuff, right? And there's this one dude that they put his head in a vice, and they just cranked it and cranked it and cranked it until his face exploded and his eyes popped out of his head, right? Pretty graphic stuff. I mean, there's even crazy parts in this movie where they're digging holes in the desert, man. You know what I mean? They straight trying to kill people who are doing wrong. Now, me personally, right, just because you missed a daily dose, I would never, ever, ever do anything like that to you guys, man. That is, I mean, I've done some over-the-top stuff, right? I've got Keebler elves to attack you. I've put your tongue on metal poles in the Arctic. I've done some crazy stuff to you, right? But I will never, ever do any of that stuff to you guys. But I do know some people.